The first time I showed a woman her images, she cried before I got past the third photo. I thought I had done something wrong. She was sitting on a couch in the studio with a little drink in her hand, a little glass of wine, and I had this slideshow going. And about 90 seconds in, she just put her hand over her mouth and she started crying. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, oh no, she hates them. She thinks she's fat or ugly. I got the lighting wrong. Like, oh my gosh, I was so stressed out. And none of that was true, not a single thing. She looked at me and said, I haven't seen myself like this in 20 years. And I about lost in myself. I was taken aback. And that was about 15 years ago, and I've thought about that sentence almost every week since, because I still sit with ladies who have the exact same reaction when they see their pictures, and time again, I'm reminded of why this work is so important. Who am I? I'm Marian. I photograph women. The quick version of how I got here, because I think it matters for what I'm about to say. I have an MBA. I spent close to a decade in corporate sales leadership, first at State Farm and then at Allstate, all the cool insurance companies. I was managing teams and I was hitting numbers, and I was sitting in rooms full of people who were very good at reading other people because that was their job. I've built a photography business on the side that whole time, nights, weekends, early mornings, because one, it was my creative outlet, and two, because I just felt like there was something there that I hadn't fully realized yet, but I knew it was something outside of corporate. So what that means is I've spent nearly 15 years watching women look at pictures of themselves. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because it's a strange kind of experience. I didn't study this. Nobody really teaches it in the way that I've been able to experience it. But I did run the same experiment hundreds of times. Put a woman in front of her image of herself. Watch what happens in her face. And there's a pattern. And nobody really talks about it. So today, I wanted to share a little bit of what I've seen over 15 years that happens for women when they do a boudoir session. So here's what people think is going to happen when they see their pictures. They think they're going to look at their pictures and evaluate it. Is my arm doing something weird? Is that a double chin? Do I look like myself? And they feel like it's going to be an inspection of themselves, their body, and the actual pictures. They come in braced for that, even though I talk about it and I tell them, like, that's not what it's going to be, but it's almost instinctive. It's almost the way that you brace when you look at a bill or when you know something is going to be bad. But that's not what happens. What actually happens is stranger, and it happens so fast. I'd say non-scientifically in like a second and a half. Before the evaluation kicks in, that critical part of your brain even wakes up, the lady has a reaction. And it's a completely unguarded one, and it's usually one of two things. Now stick with me, because this is a little bit crazy. The first is grief. And it's not sadness, it's grief. She looks at a picture of herself, and she's looking at somebody she's not seen in a very long time. And she's kind of like almost mourning that time in between. That's where that crying comes out from. It's not about the picture, it's about the gap between the woman in the frame and the woman that she thought she had become. The second one is recognition. And that sounds a little bit gentler, but it's actually the more destabilizing one. It's the woman who looks at the image and goes, oh, there she is. Not like, oh, that's flattering or that's good lighting. It's like, there she is. Like she's been looking for something. I want to be really precise about the timing because it's the whole thing. You have about a second and a half of a super honest reaction, and then the defense arrives. The defenses sound something like this. My arm looks big, I look tired, that's on my good side, I should have lost weight first, you did such a good job, but I just don't photograph well. Every single one of those is a retreat because my client had a real reaction. It was too much, and so she reached for the nearest thing she could criticize so she would have somewhere to put that feeling. And most photographers honestly let her do it, because it's super uncomfortable to sit in a room with a woman who's having a large feeling. And the instinct is to fill it and to reassure her, oh, you look beautiful, your arm looks great. And that's actually the worst thing that you could do, because now you've agreed on what the topic is. Like say the arm, like yes, your arm is so big. But that's really not ever what the topic was actually, what was actually all of it was about. Remember, that was just a reaction to something deeper. So here's what I've done instead. I stopped reassuring women about 6 or 7 years ago. Now, when she says my arm looks big or something like that, I don't argue with her. I don't agree either. I just wait. I just like sit quietly for a little bit longer. And then I ask her what she actually saw. And then 9 times out of 10, she says something completely different from what she just said out loud. I've had women tell me I look like my mother. I look like I did before the divorce. I look like I'm not scared. I look like somebody who's been through something. And that's the real reaction underneath everything. Underneath the arm is fat, which is the cover story. And that pause that I do, so they really don't have to sit with it for a second, is the entire technique. And that's the whole thing I've learned in 15 years, not to fill the silence. My client is not asking for reassurance. She is asking for permission to feel what she just felt. And if I talk over it, I take that away from her. So here's why everything matters, even if you don't ever book a photo session with me. I'm not making you a video to sell you a photo session, but I'm making it because I think this happens to women constantly outside of my studio and in ways nobody really names. So think about it like this. You catch yourself in a window and something crosses your face. You see a photo from a trip 4 years ago and it lands wrong. Somebody tags you in something and your stomach drops before you even looked at it properly. That's that same second and a half. And the same thing happens next for most people. You reach for the criticism. My hair, that dress. The criticism is just doing a job for you. It's protecting you from the actual thought, which is usually something much larger and much sadder, about time or about the version of yourself you thought you were going to be by now. I'm not going to tell you to stop criticizing yourself. That advice is useless and everyone hates it. I mean, I do agree we should all stop criticizing ourselves, but there's a lot of emotions and feelings going on, right? I'm going to tell you something a little tiny bit smaller. The next time you catch yourself and it's happening. You see a picture of yourself and you immediately go for the flaw. Just notice that you reached for it. You don't need to fix it or fight it. You just notice that that's what you went to first. Because if you notice that reach, you can start to wonder what you're reaching away from. So that's all you have to do. I'm just noticing something. What's maybe on the other side of it? I had to do it for myself. This comes from experience. And it's a little bit tough. But it's beneficial, I promise you. One more last thing. I assumed when I started doing this work that the women who cried would be the ones who were struggling or going through something, recently divorced, recently sick, recently lost something really important. But that's actually not the pattern. The women who fell apart at the reveal are more often than not the ones who are handling everything. The really competent ones, the ones who run companies and raise children and take care of their parents and answer every text within the hour, like so responsible and competent. Nobody looks at them. Everyone relies on them, which is a completely different thing. And they've gotten so used to being the person who takes care of a room that being the subject of that room for even a little bit of time is so disorienting for them. I know, I've also lived it. And I think about it a lot because that woman most likely to be undone by the photograph herself is the woman who everyone always counts on. So if that's you and you know it's you, I think about the last time somebody looked at you and wasn't asking you for something. That's all of what this whole entire experience and the reveal moment really is. It's not about pictures, not really in the true sense. The photograph is just the thing that gets past your own guard because it's a mirror you can't argue with in real time. So like I've said, I've watched it happen for 15 years and it still gets me every time. If you had a version of this with a photo or a video or a mirror, anything, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I read all of them. Again, I'm Marian. Thank you for staying till the end of this video and go out and be amazing.